diplomacy or the negotiation with other allies for conquest. For example, when the Han Dynasty conquered the west side of China, they came into conflict with a variety of nomadic tribes. To keep the war from happening, the Han sought out an alliance with countries in the west, and due to the Han Emperor's dedication, China was able to defeat the nomadic group and conquer more land. Ancient empire armies were in need of food rations, new men, water, and other items. Without our modern-day vehicles, transportation of these goods was very difficult. To solve this problem, supply trains, carts, and pack animals were implemented, but the animals who dragged the carts were slowed down if too much weight was carried. Alexander the Great solved this material by having no carts, but just animals. Imperial societies in Afro-Eurasia and the Americas served as centers of trade, and also public performances and religious rituals were created here, or rather forwarded here, and political administration for states and empires was also a major staple point of these imperial cities. A few of these imperial cities include Rome, Alexandria, Constantinople, and Persepolis of the Persian Empire. New social hierarchies also developed during this time, with cultivators and laborers being part of the lower middle class, slaves being the lowest class, artisans and merchants being part of the higher middle class, and elites. This created a sort of caste system within Afro-Eurasia and the Americas, and led all of the different groups to be dependent on one another. New methods of food production were also created in this time to support a higher population, as well as a reward for the loyalty of the elites. Corvée, or forced labor, was used in this time in order to support that new food production, as well as slavery and rents and tributes. Patriarchy, a staple point of AP World History and the continuation of Period 2, was also another shaping of gender and family relationships in the imperialistic societies of this period. Empires began to encounter political, cultural, and administrative difficulties, particularly the empires of Rome, Han China, the Persian Empire, and the Mauryan and Gupta empires. When these difficulties became too much to manage, it eventually led to their decline and collapse, and then therefore transformed into new states and new empires that followed them. These empires all had similar ways of decline. Corruption, peasant revolts, and nomadic invasions are a continuity that is seen throughout all of these empires. Additionally, the excessive use of resources also created a different economical problem for them that they could not eventually handle. And also, in terms of economics, concentrating too much wealth into the hands of the upper class was also a reason for the eventual decline of these different areas. Particularly, going on to a different topic, security issues along their borders. Additionally, on a different topic, security issues along the borders of these different areas created a different invasion problem that many of them could not handle. In fact, the Gupta Empire eventually fell because of the Huns, and their invasions eventually became too much for the state to handle. This is a continuity between all of these different empires, as nomadic groups and different groups would eventually invade and take over the different areas. The Silk Road began around the 2nd century BCE throughout Eurasia. Peaches, spices, grapes, alfalfa, and most importantly silk were traded. Relay trade was common through the Silk Road, where merchants would only travel a short distance of the route, and then another merchant would take over. Christianity and Buddhism were also exchanged throughout this trade route, along with epidemics. Nomads were essential in the Silk Road due to their ability to travel on horseback, since China was not suitable to breed and house horses. The Trans-Saharan trade route became popular in the post-classical age. Items such as desert salt and palm oil were traded with camels, because camels have the ability to withstand the hot climates of the deserts. This trade route connected East Africa to the Indian Ocean trade. The Indian Ocean trade started in southeastern China and traveled southeastern Asia, India, and to Africa. Pepper, ivory, fragrances, spices, textiles, and more were traded in this route. The development of the ability to track and understand monsoons allowed the citizens to have a prediction of wind patterns in order to find which days were the most suitable for traveling across the ocean. The lateen sail, a triangular sail, and the dhow, a ship with the lateen sail, became commonly used throughout the Indian Ocean trade route. The Mediterranean trade route is similar to that of the Silk Road, but is more suited for bulky items. Marble, timber, wine, olive oil, silk, and many other commodities were traded throughout this route. The Phoenicians first started colonies along the Mediterranean region, one famously known as Carthage. And even when they were defeated by the Persians, Carthage became its own empire until the Punic Wars.
Created using Powtoon.